Great. Hello, Internet. It has been a minute. Happy to be back. Today, I am going to try to be useful to other people. I know it's a change of pace, but we're going to work through this together. So, introductory comments aside, here's the thing. Some of you may have a problem. It is a specific problem, but if you have it, you want to solve it. This problem is trying to play over the internet with a backing track. And more specifically, if you're trying to play for someone on Zoom while you have a backing track on your side and you have your instrument on your side, and in your ears, the backing track and your playing are synchronized, but for your audience, they're not synchronized. That's the thing that we need to fix today. The cause of this problem is that you have this delay between the different signals because they're traveling through different signal chains, going different distances through all of your hardware and your computer and over the internet to the audience. Now, we can't control what happens over the internet, but we can manage the rest of it on our side. So in my case, I'm playing through a Focusrite audio interface. So this is my hardware interface. My microphone's going to it. My bass is going to it. And I have then on the computer my backing track that I'm going to be playing. So here's my little backing track. I'll open that up and now it's ready to go. So that's great. I have my backing track, I have my bass, I have my audio interface. But the problem is that when I hear the backing track in my headphones and I hear the bass as I'm playing live, if they're together, when I send this to Zoom, they're not going to be synchronized because my bass has to go through my audio interface to the Zoom audio interface. Meanwhile, my backing track is already on the computer going directly to Zoom. And so it's going to come ahead. It doesn't have to travel as far to get to Zoom to get sent. So this is what we need is we need a way to not delay the backing track when we hear it, but to have a delay that gets sent with the backing track on its way to Zoom so that for Zoom, the backing track and the bass signal arrive at the same time and are synchronized. That's what we need to do here. And if you don't play bass, I'm sorry, but this applies to any instrument that you might be playing. Okay, so that's the plan. In order to fix this, what most people would do is they would use the Loopback feature on their audio interface. I wish I could, but my particular Focusrite model unfortunately does not have Loopback, even though most of their products do. Super annoying. Can't do anything about it, so I need another fix. And that fix is going to be using the software that is called Voicemeeter. This is recommended by a lot of people on the internet. I found it to be a bit of a pain on the learning curve, but once I got it working, honestly, it worked great. And it is free to try. You optionally can donate to the creators if you like the product and you want to pay for it. So it's a pretty good solution, all things told. I am going to get Voicemeeter started up, and then we are going to talk through how this all works. All right, here we go. We're going to open Voicemeeter. There's a lot going on. I'll let you see everything that's happening here and talk through it. So we have inputs. These are the hardware inputs on the left, stereo input 1. You can see as I'm talking and not talking that the levels go up and down. So that is pulling from my Focusrite. That's the audio interface. Then I have these two other options for hardware inputs if I want additional hardware sources to use. Next, we have the virtual inputs. These are software inputs. So for example, my media player that I'm using to play my backing track, that's going to come in as a virtual input. Then we have outputs. So the outputs here, A1, A2, and A3, these are the different hardware that I can send mixes to. If I click on one of these, you can see my options. I have speakers, headphones, I have this cable thing. We'll come back to that. And so I can set up to 3 different output channels, and I've chosen my speakers, so my studio monitors as audio 1, headphones are audio 2, and then this cable thing is audio 3. For B1 and B2, these are software outputs for Voicemeeter. You can see that I am sending my recorder, my built-in recorder, to B1. All right, so that's a little bit of an overview of what's happening. Now, what's this cable business? This is another software package that you can download and install from Voicemeeter. You will need it to make this work. And the cable acts like a cable. You put a signal into it, and a signal comes out the other end. So this is going to virtualize the process of adding a signal path into the signal chain. The reason this is useful is we're going to set the backing track to the headphones. We're also going to send a copy of the backing track to this cable and use that cable to feed back into Voicemeeter. So now there are 2 copies of the backing track, one going to my headphones and one that is going to be mixed in with my bass signal through the audio interface. And so by controlling the timing on these, I can synchronize them so that the backing track that gets mixed with the bass is at a different timing than the backing track in my ears, taking into account the signal delay for moving through the hardware. That means that I can take that final mix, send it to Zoom, and Zoom will receive the synchronized signals and send those to my audience, so my audience hears them in sync while I also hear them in sync, even though the hardware setup is a challenge. So how do you do this? Well, first you need to assign channels. You can see I've already done that. I have my speakers, my headphones, and my cable. The SART, the way I conceptualize this, it took me some trial and error to think about it. I said, let me start with my media player, playing my backing track. So this is going to be the Voicemeeter inputs, the virtual inputs, and I want 2 copies of my backing track. I want a copy of my backing track that goes to A2, which is my headphones. Also want a copy of the backing track going to A3, which is the cable. That cable is going to go from the A3 output back into Voicemeeter again, the A2 input of Voicemeeter. Then my audio interface where the bass is coming in, hello bass, that is going to get sent to B1, which is a software output. That's where I have my mix compiled. And I'll take that final mix, the software output, and send it to Zoom. And so my audience can hear it. So that's what's going on here. Finally, it's time to talk about the delay. This is going to take some trial and error from you because everyone's hardware is a little different. I've recorded a copy of the Voicemeeter output, channel B1, my final mix, using the little built-in tape recorder. And so my copy of B1 goes to the file recorder. And what I would do is I would start recording, and then I would start my backing track, and then I would play along with it. Okay, great. So that was fun. Stop. That's enough. And then I'll go and listen to my recording. I won't do that live right now. But in listening to the recording, I would find that the 2 tracks are out of sync with each other. So what do I need to do? I need to say, okay, how far out of sync are they? Is it close? Is it really off? And then I'm going to do the magic. Here it is, finally. I'm going to add delay to the copy of the backing track that is going into Voicemeeter. And here's how I do it. I go to the menu, I open these settings, system settings, and then this lets me see extra details about buffers and clocks and what have you. And it also lets me see in the bottom right synchronization delay options. So I can add, in my case, 60 milliseconds. I can add that delay to this output A3. The number might be different for your hardware. So I would make my test recording like I just showed, listen to it, and say, okay, I need to delay my backing track a little bit in the final mix because it's coming out ahead. I would guess a number. I think I started with 20 milliseconds and then repeat the process. Make a recording, listen to it, and say, okay, are they closer together? Good, but they're not quite lined up. And so I would repeat that process until I got the exact value dialed in, which happened to be 60 milliseconds. Now, when I do this, I have a copy of my backing track that goes to my headphones in real time without delay. And so that's what I hear. That's what I'm playing along with. And then I also have a second copy of my backing track 60 milliseconds later getting fed into Voicemeeter. And so the mix going to output B1 will combine with the signal from my interface, which it takes that 60 milliseconds for the notes to get from my bass to the audio interface, through the interface to the computer, through Voicemeeter, and then finally to meet with the backing track 60 milliseconds later. And they combine, they get mixed and sent to output B1, software output, which I can send to Zoom. So I start my Zoom meeting. And this is, I have all sorts of recordings going on at the same time. But in the Zoom login, I'm going to send my speakers, my Zoom output to my headphones. So here's my Realtek headphone output. So that way I can hear in my ears what Zoom is happening. And I will also need to choose where the sound into Zoom is coming from. The sound into Zoom is going to come from Voicemeeter output B1. You can see that's my system default right now. So my Voicemeeter output is going to be B1, which is the mix of my audio interface and my backing track is what gets sent to Zoom. And with this 60 millisecond delay added in, Zoom is going to receive those signals at the same time, even though they are moving through different signal chains through the hardware and software. So I hear them at the same time and Zoom gets them at the same time. So that's how you do the thing. Long story short, download Voicemeeter Banana, download Voicemeeter Cable, install them, set up your signal chain so that you have your software inputs, like your backing track layer, going to your headphones and also going to your cable. Send that cable back into Voicemeeter with a delay that you'll have to calibrate with some testing, and then merge your audio interface signal and your extra copy of the backing track to finally get sent out to a software output, which you can then send to Zoom. And then, after all of that pain and suffering, you too can play live for strangers on the internet with a backing track. Oh, it's a process, but it can be done. So, that is pretty much that. If people have any comments or questions, suggestions, if you are trying this out and having any trouble, you want help, anything like that, leave that in the comments for the video, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you about that, help out if I can. It's quite a learning curve figuring this out on your own. There are other videos on the internet about Voicemeeter, but none of them dealt with the exact problem I was having. So I had to figure it out on my own, draw diagrams, map my signal chain. It was a fun exercise, but time consuming. And well, before I consume any more of your time, I should stop there. With that, good luck. I hope for those of you who have this issue that this helps out and fixes it, and I'll see you in the next one.